half hour. So I don't know where everyone's at, but good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We'll get started here. So I'm just
If you could all mute if you are participating in this session,
And I have been doing some
that would be
research.
great. And thank you very much.
Hello,
Okay.
everyone.
That's usually
Hello,
where
everyone,
my.
and thank you for participating in this session. This is
Yeah.
very,
It feels like they're very these ones are very competent. I'll check in on them, but I'm gonna start getting those ready.
Do you want me to leave these on a low volume in case?
Okay, thank you. Okay, fantastic. This is preparing patrons for generative AI in the workplace. I have begun recording, so this recording will be available on YouTube and on another on the Library 2.0 site as well. Please use the hashtag Library20 and AI and libraries when you're sharing about this. We would like to recognize the support of futureofai.com and, of course, Learning Revolution and Library 2.0 for this session. So hello, my name is Reed Hepler. I am the Digital Initiatives Librarian and Archivist for the College of Southern Idaho. And this is preparing patrons for generative AI in the workplace. And this is going to be a presentation, but it's also going to be primarily a discussion with all of you. And so for the time being right now, please stay muted. But we're going to have basically kind of a very large discussion. We have 170 people here, so this is fantastic. Thank you very much for coming and participating. And so I have had about 2 years of experience with generative AI. I've used it in libraries, in education, both formal and informal, in the workplace. I've presented to businesses and corporations and organizations on how to use generative AI. And so really what this is going to be is kind of a think tank for a half an hour on how we can use generative AI in the workplace. And then I'm going to, at the end, kind of present and talk about how you can take what we've learned and apply it to your own work. And so we're going to have a work product, hopefully, or a start of one that we can have and apply to our own libraries and our own courses and classes. So first, our first question today, and we're going to discuss about, is what type of tasks should students or staff and educators or trainers complete with AI? I've long said that generative AI should be used kind of to complete projects, and that project-based learning and projects and maybe programs for libraries can be completed with AI. It shows that not only does the patron or the students know how to use AI, but they also know the topic about which they are presenting or which they are writing. A lot of talk has been said, especially in the past week, about agents, AI agents, and people using them to complete text-based projects. In fact, one expert says that within a year or two, we could have agents that can go through a course or go through a training and do it completely for a person. You know, right now it might cost $100 for someone to go through this, you know, a course and have an AI do that for them. But in the future, it could cost as low as $20 to $25. So that being said, what type of tasks do you think that students and staff or patrons and educators should complete with AI? What is ethical? What is not ethical? What is realistic and what is not realistic? And also, please feel free to participate in the chat as well. Okay, brainstorming ideas. Okay, yeah, summarizing large amounts of text, that's really important. And reading for accuracy. That's where the human computer collaboration comes in. Program design, adjusting language for communication. I know that I use that a lot. Okay, a lot of programming here, drafts of emails, A lot of communication and okay, improving tone. Okay, offering computer help, kind of like an AI agent or an AI chatbot. Thank you, Anne. Literature review. Yes, it does seem like a poor. Yeah, Aaron says so. Like having the AI go through the training for you without actually learning anything, it seems like a very poor use of AI. And I agree. Yes, proofreading, brainstorming. Okay, so we have a lot of brainstorming, a lot of refining communication, and a lot of transcription. So basically, taking textual information and organizing it, and then communicating that in a way that people will respond to it well. Okay. Templates, yes. Okay, panel discussion group. That exactly. I've done that. In fact, I'm designing a panel proposal right now. Write emails. Fantastic. So we have a lot of communication, and let's kind of go and branch off on that. Okay, Jim Kramer says it's so dependent on the job description, using AI training for specific context, grant writing, policy making, engagement. So a lot of people are talking about communication and how can we do that? And so what types of communication, how would you use the AI to do that? What prompts would you use? What language would you put in those types of prompts? This is fantastic, and this is just a primarily textual conversation. I love this. You guys are great. Yes, and that is true. You are training the AI software, so you're training it on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. I'm going to talk about that. That we need to be careful about what we put into the prompt in my closing keynote. This is, yes, very important. Specify the audience, add in descriptions. Yeah, exciting, engaging, appropriate for a particular audience. Okay, nice, very good, very good. So with that being said, we're talking about using it for communication and for brainstorming, formulating ideas. How can we prepare students for the ethical implications of using artificial intelligence in their future careers? Yes, okay. Students should know something about the topic. Yes, exactly. And combining these excellent comments by Lisa Bodenheimer and Danielle Besa, AI can be wrong, and students should know something about the topic. I love this. I think that AI and artificial intelligence specifically, we need to be using it to communicate things, but we shouldn't be using it to gain information or to know or to learn. We should be knowing the information and then having it have it use what we put in. AI may perpetuate bias. Very, very, very important. Very important. And acting on that bias, and I need to make this clear, just because an AI perpetuates bias and then you act on it doesn't make you non-culpable. You need to take responsibility for your actions. You can't just say, oh, the AI had bias and it's the AI's fault. No, take responsibility. You were the one who used it. That's very, very important. Both. Just general ethics. Applying for a job without knowing that, using AI in a specific task. That's exactly, there's macro ethics and micro ethics. How do we monitor racist, prejudicial content, and how do we self-censor? Very good. Again, the human responsibility for the AI content. Amanda McClellan says, I think really discussing the provenance of the data set and the issues that may be there. That's fantastic. And exactly. We should be fact checking things and having critical thinking about the AI content. And just basic information literacy and AI literacy. This is really good. Okay. Fantastic. Okay, yes, exactly. This is really good. I like this, Paul. Thank you. Distinguishing between training, excuse me, with open access and copyrighted materials. Think about who might be displaced. That's really good. That's really kind of the core of ethics. How are my actions going to impact others? And how can I mitigate that? Or what actions should I take that are not my intended actions? How can I change my process? Is really good. I really like this open access and copyrighted material, especially with the ALA and ARCL recently, I guess not recently, a few months ago, having a statement that training on copyrighted materials is fair use according to their statement. Now, is it? Is it not? That's a conversation we need to be having. Yes, yes, especially with a lot of people. Exactly. How are people being displaced? How are people being manipulated? Very excellent ideas. Thank you. Our next question, and then how can we ensure that our students are prepared for the AI-driven future of work? It's kind of a useless argument that AI is not going to impact the future, even if it's not using AI in our work. How are we going to respond to AI products in our work? Even if we're not using it, it's going to impact the information that we have to sift through. Yes, environmental considerations. There are a lot of environmental considerations. And says again, what I worry about is that AI places faces and voices to make people look like they've said something they actually haven't. AI, yes, deepfakes are a very, very real thing. Udio specifically, and I'll put that in the chat, a link in the chat, udio.com is a music generator, very good. And I've used it to create several things, and I kind of use it, to kind of just muck around and make a little bit of things, but it can create things that are worryingly similar to artists who are actually making work. Teach them to use AI effectively and ethically as a tool. Teach critical thinking skills. This is fantastic. Thank you very much. And so that could be creating workflows for them. Would you create their own workflows, or would they create their own workflows? Would you tell them exactly what to do, or would you say, here's some principles, work according to these principles? Critical thinking skills are paramount, yes. AI can help with imaginative work, but it cannot replace the real experience and impacts. Thank you, Sayira. Digital literacy. Consider which jobs are most at risk of being displaced by AI. I like that. I like that idea. A lot of people are worrying about the fact that their job is going to be quote unquote erased by AI. I like this idea, displaced, because it means that it might not be a complete obliteration of your job, but your job and our students' potential jobs or patrons are going to be displaced, or at least adjusted. They're going to have new job responsibilities because of this AI. Sayira Raza again says, I think preparing for when AI has a moment and isn't available. Yes, yes. We don't, thank you very much, Sayira. We don't want to become dependent. And I was talking with one of my colleagues about this, that in the future it could be that students could be dependent. And there was I think it was UNESCO, or was it another presenter? I think it was a UNESCO thing, where we are going to a future where, if we're not careful, students will think that high quality work is things that have been made with AI, because it might be so pervasive. But we need to emphasize the human component in these things. Yes, yes. I wasn't going to say that because I think it's a bit gallant right now. But thank you, Jim. You won't be displaced by AI. You'll be displaced by a human who knows how to use AI effectively. David Wiley says something like that. Oh, great. Book recommendations. We are librarians, of course. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you all for these comments. How can we ensure that the use of AI in education, or librarians, or by our patrons does not widen the digital divide? And I use education because I'm an academic librarian, but also, in programming, let's say, in programming or in staff trainings, does not widen the digital divide. In other words, how can we use AI equitably and encourage our staff, our patrons, everyone to use AI equitably? More ethically, or inclusively. Okay, pre-programming, yes, fantastic. How-tos, would that mean like LibGuides, or would that mean more kind of one-on-one trainings? Or, I mean, handouts. Let's not forget that we have paper and physical. Okay, I'd say both. Thank you, Danielle. Besa. Making sure people have thank you, Amanda, making sure people have as much access to proprietary data sets as they do the free materials. Thank you. Fantastic. Okay. Got a hand. Yes, that is a good. Meredith says, I've got a handout, but I need to dial down the jargon. That's a very difficult thing, especially where AI is so techy. You need to be able to kind of use metaphors or similes that are faithful to what is the reality, but also mindful of, what can people take? What do people know? Public access to locally hosted and open source models, as opposed to letting AI be the exclusive domain of big tech. Yes, and that's why Llama 2 and Lava and GitHub is a very good thing. You have an open source large language model that can be run on your computer. It's kind of slow, not as accurate, but we have open source models. Chat GPT, and I know that is but big tech. But now they just released a development where you can use GPT 3.5 without logging in and without putting that data into their training. And personally, for me, I have GPT-4 and I have steps to manage their use of data and what data they access or don't access. But if you don't want to have an account, you don't have to. I think Perplexity, you don't have to use an account. Claude, I don't believe you have to use an account. But Llama and Lava are very good options. Chantel says, trying to figure out how to make it cost effective to acquire technology. Teach them AI when it's always changing too quickly to keep up with purchases. Yes, and that's why you have to be flexible with what you use and kind of how I address that is I teach principles, I teach workflows, and then I say, here's a bunch of tools with all these different modes and modalities and media. Use what you can, and I try to emphasize the free and open source and open access models and tools. I have a list of them. I have a list of Gen AI tools that are free and open access. Saira says, I think it will inevitably widen the divide if the structural and systemic issues are not addressed, the ones that already exist and contribute to the existing divide. Yes. And that's why we need to be kind of activist librarians. As librarians, and we're meant to advocate on behalf of our and on behalf of our staff, on behalf of our patrons, our communities. I bet AI can. Thank you, Roxana. Yes. If I wanted to, and I don't, I could go to ChatGPT right now, share my screen. We could have a query with AI. Yes, rural America. I'm in Idaho. I'm in southeastern Idaho, and rural America really is hit hard. A lot of people are fearful about it, but also a lot of people don't have the resources to do that. Education about how AI works, kind of introduction to AI trainings. Thank you, Mike. Marginalized communities, yes. This does disproportionately affect marginalized communities, especially on race and ethnicity boundaries. And as a white man, I probably am not using the most correct language. I apologize, but marginalized communities are probably even more than geographic and rural communities, more displaced and more impacted by this digital divide. I can provide a list of those resources. I will provide them in fact, I'll provide them in the chat right now. Here is a list. There we go. It is on OER Commons, so it's an OER resource. I apologize. It is prompt engineering and AI tools. The digital divide is getting greater for students at public schools with limited access. Okay, yes. Thank you very much. There is a huge difference in performance of some tasks. Yes, and so you have a lot of people who are giving up because they only have access to the lower models. And so one of my personal things, and I'm going to do this once I stop doing all these trainings and presentations in the summer, is try to give access to a lot of these workflows, and I have in some ways, that you can have open and access, music, image, text generators, and you can create workflows. And the products you can create with these workflows using open access tools are much greater in some cases, in many cases, than things that require commercial tools. Thank you, Amanda. Another book recommendations. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Yes. And so that's why we have to be proactively looking for open access and free alternatives to these commercial tools. So what is as a librarian or an educator or a librarian educator, what is your pedagogy of integrating AI? And how does that compare to field and discipline expectations for workplace AI use? In other words, what best practices have you found, or what workflows do you use? Okay, I apologize. I updated this resource. And so it might be not available right now because it is being updated. Okay, yes, they are telling me that it is pending. I apologize, everyone, for this. This is an error on my part. And I am also getting a system error. It does look like the website is a little bit wonky, but if you contact me and I'll give you my email, rhepler@csi.edu. I will contact you and give you this thing. So how do you integrate AI personally, and how do you encourage your patrons to work with that? Do you have programs? I teach race, gender, and information technology to undergraduate information science students. Yes, fantastic. I love those types of things. I'm trying to get an AI and ethics course taught in my institution right now. Thank you, Amanda. We're at the 52 mark, so I'm going to skip over a few more sessions. Yes, the end, yes. And I'm focusing more on the end users, but it is important to have kind of a conversation or kind of be go-betweens, again, advocating for our patrons and our students and our staff. And so let's go over here. What AI tools will be most useful for your patrons in their work context or your students' fields, and how can you help them utilize these tools? And so Jim Kramer, thank you, Jim Craner, excuse me. You may have what actual tools are you using for training? Shared GPT team seats, custom in-house applicants, and AI API like OpenAI GPT-4. So I don't have GPT teams, I don't have enterprise, but I use Claude. I use, in fact, I'm gonna go and share my tools document. I'll share it on my screen as well. Okay, can you see this document? I think you all can. Okay, so I have here Futurepedia, and then I have these are my text generators, Bing AI, Google Bard, and image generators. A lot of these may have paid tiers, but their free tiers have enough usability that they have you can use a lot of these things for free as well. Text speech online is really good for text and speech audio. Whisper AI I made, and I can give you this drive link. I can share it to you if you request access. If you put a video in that you make, you can have speech to text, you can have captions for things, music, audio, video. All of these are free options. Typo is only usable for Apple right now, but you're creating an Android app, website design, and then a lot of these other options for educational purposes. I will yes, I will share the document. In fact, I'll take a few minutes and create a shareable link. If you come to my closing keynote, this is a plug, I kind of have a roundabout plug for my keynote. I will put this in the keynote thing. Yes, thank you, Amanda. Thank you very much. And as we're at the last 5 minutes, let's talk about this. What framework do you want to use to promote AI literacy? While I'm making this link, you can talk about this and I can talk about it. Thank you very much. Okay, Google AI Studio. I haven't used that as much, but I've been wanting to. Okay, here is a link to the document in my Google Drive. And thank you very much, Amanda. I'm going to click on your link. Oh, this is like even this, yeah. Don't use my thing. Use this. This is fantastic. We have workflows, we have policies, an amazing compendium. Very good, Amanda. Thank you very much. Okay, and now we have 4 minutes left. So right now that we've talked about all these things, and Paul Huffman, thank you. Hume AI, please tell us about that in the chat. I want to look up that. So at the end of this, now that we've discussed all these things, create and share a model outline or objectives for programming or guidelines for patron or student interactions regarding generative AI tools, or like a lesson plan. Basically, how are you going to share these ideas and these concepts with your patrons? What are you going to do to take these concepts and these amazing ideas from everyone? I love this. I kind of wish that we could have had a kind of more vocal voice discussion, but this is really good. How are you going to design programming for your patrons or your staff along these lines and share best practices with them? Just think about that. I see a lot of, thank you very much. Okay, notebook.com. And it is 58 or 59. So thank you very much. I will stick around for the last 2 minutes, but I hope that this is a very good conversation. You could get AI to generate this sometime. Yes, you could do that. In fact, I created an AI tool, an instructional design assistant, to create a whole course. Obviously, you have to do it in pieces, but I created a workflow for that. So if you'd like to know about that, look at me, talk to me about that. Thank you very much for this session. This has been fantastic. Here is the document. Again. And here is the other document that was shared by Amanda, I believe it was. There we go. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful conference. I will see you all in about an hour. And thank you very much. Have a fantastic time.